Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Matthew Vernhout. I'm the VP of Deliverability for North America with Netcore, and I'm the Communications Chair for the Authenticators Working Group. Joining me today, I have Alex Rubin, Vice President, Business Development for Validity, a 15-year email industry veteran, a MOG board member, and a member of the Authenticators Working Group. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Matt.
So just to introduce what's going on, so we are starting an educational series of videos for the BIMI working group, the ongoing support of BIMI to try to help both senders and receivers and brands really understand what they need to do in order to become BIMI compliant, get their logos to displayed, where they're going to display. And today, Alex and I are going to talk about BIMI from the perspective of a brand marketer. So Alex is going to talk about some of his experiences with his clients and partners. We're really going to try to move into, why is it important to consider BIMI, what you need in order to set it up, and really how do you be ready to support BIMI. So Alex, we're going to just dive right in here. Can you give us a background of what is BIMI and why is it important for marketers?
Yeah, no problem. BIMI, the acronym, stands for Brand Indicators for Messaging Identification. And it's important for marketers because it's one of the first opportunities marketers get to put a logo next to their email. There's been different mailbox providers that display logos, but the marketers were kind of left out of the equation. And BIMI allows them to have some say which logos next to which emails. And it's a new innovative thing that kind of allows a little more power to the marketers.
Great. And when when you're talking with your clients right now, on sort of that scale of like not interested at all, I'll get to it in a year, to like, I need this today. Like, where do you see client interest?
Definitely closer to I need this today. I don't know if it's at that level of hype, but there's a lot of interest, a lot of folks asking questions. How do I get involved? I think part of those are just, I want to put logos next to my email, which is great. The other part is I'm frustrated by either a lack of logo today or the wrong logo. And so how to, involvement from both fronts. Yes, there's definitely interest.
Yeah, I think we've both seen that, where there's like a legacy logo program that has caused an old logo to show up, or in some cases we've even seen the wrong logo. And I think BIMI hopefully will address that across the board for everyone to have a little more control. And speaking about that, right, because where you didn't necessarily have control of your logo before, what do you need to do now as a marketer to implement BIMI, and sort of the types of people in your company that may need to be involved to get that set up?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's actually a laundry list of steps that need to be involved. It's not overly complicated, but all the steps are on the BIMIgroup.org website. The most important, potentially the most challenging piece is you got to have your DMARC records set up. Got to be at P equals reject. And so that can involve different folks on your side, on the marketer's side, as far as getting their authentication practices in place. Then you need to get your logos. Normally marketers have those at the ready. There's specific formats that are required for BIMI, but that's hopefully the fun part of the process. And then you got to get a VMC certificate, which is a verified mark certificate. So you work with a third party to validate that you own the logos that you say you own, and you are who you say you are. So there's some trust there. And once you've got those pieces, you're really ready to go.
Great. Yeah, that definitely takes a lot of work from IT and marketing and design and sort of a bit of a company effort there to get that all set up, starting with DMARC and working your way forward. So
yeah, if you're already at DMARC P equals reject, you're well into the process. Then it's hopefully pretty straightforward after that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I've seen that experience where some people are way farther ahead when it comes to being ready for BIMI than others. Say you are that brand that you're already at reject, you've got your logo ready, maybe you don't quite have the VMC yet, but we've seen that brands are able to implement BIMI right now without a VMC in some places. So what should a brand expect after they've sort of published their BIMI records and they have it all set up and they're ready to go?
It's a great question. BIMI's a little bit at early stages. It's technically only in beta at a pilot stage with Google and on Gmail. It's implemented at Verizon. There's some other mailbox providers that are either in early stages of implementation or planning implementation. You can also see some status on that on the BIMI website. Once you've published your VMC, have your demarket P equals reject, you'll start to see logos appear next to your emails. I think as more mailbox providers adopt, you'll see greater use of both the logos next to email, and who knows where BIMI evolves to, where these logos get used down the road. But early days, it's going to be some mail clients at some of the bigger participating mailbox providers, and it should evolve from there to be more and more adoption of your logo and its use.
Great. And, like all things, it's not something you can just turn on today, right? What types of challenges have you experienced working with your clients to implement BIMI?
Well, we touched on it briefly, but the getting to demark P equals reject, getting our authentication practices in place, that can be a challenge. It takes a good understanding of your outbound mail streams, where all the mail that you're sending comes from. Does everyone have authentication working? Then one of the requirements, at least for the Google pilot, is that you have a brand trademark, a brand design trademark, which not everybody has. A lot of people have US Patent Office trademark stuff, which is useful. Just making sure that you own your logos, you can vouch for your ownership is important. And often, as you mentioned, Matt, this involves a few different people at your company, depending on the size of your company. That could be one person, or it could be people in different departments working in different parts of the globe. So sort of the challenges can vary based on your company's size and its international footprint or distribution, let's say.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I find it's way more complicated as you get to a bigger organization with more outbound streams, more teams doing different things, maybe not even communicating with each other about them. It just gets more complicated.
Yeah, which ironically are those are the people that are often most interested in getting their brand impressions, getting their brand out there. They have the most brand value, but yeah, maybe a little more tricky there. And the smaller shops that can do this fairly quickly, maybe haven't earned that much brand value or don't have that built up brand value yet, but they're still probably interested in getting their logos out there.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think I've seen that too. One of the things, when I know we've kind of touched on it, and it's a question we get a lot in the BIMI group website, people asking us, how can I get involved with the Google pilot that was announced for Gmail? Can you explain like what brands can do currently versus what, maybe some limitations are?
Yeah, everyone's always interested in what I can do with Gmail, what I can do with Google. That pilot is currently a closed pilot with a small number of predetermined participants. Unfortunately, you can't get into that now. I imagine they're going to increase their participation down the road. Google and the rest of the BIMI world would encourage you to get to DMARC as soon as you can, so you have a chance to participate in future, either that becomes from a pilot to a full-fledged launch of BIMI, or they maybe have an additional tranche of pilot participants in the future.
Yeah, and you mentioned like getting DMARC done now. Like that typically is what we've seen is the long piece for people to be able to participate in BIMI, is getting their DMARC records set up and properly authenticating all of their mail appropriately. So I would second that, certainly. Figure that out, get working on that now if you haven't done it, because you never know what kind of speed bumps you'll run into as you participate in getting your DMARC configured and up to enforcement. I guess final thought, just before we kind of wrap up here, what type of advice would you give to a CMO or a VP of marketing looking to implement BIMI for their organizations?
Yeah, I'm sure there's folks that will listen to this or are considering BIMI outside of this that are like, should I do it? It's going to take some time. Is it worthwhile? In my mind, if you get value from brand impressions and you find additional brand impressions are worth doing, it's worthwhile. There's going to be security benefits from DMARC. Those are well sort of established. So you're going to get benefit there. There's been some talk about potentially additional opens and clicks that come from logo impressions. I think that's a little early or TBD what will happen there. But BIMI is really about getting your brand out there, getting more impressions, and there's a security benefit for DMARC, so why not do it? Weigh that against your other initiatives that you're doing now. But think of how much email you send out, put a logo next to all of it. That's a lot of new brand impressions.
Right, yeah, and like the old saying goes, right? A picture says 1,000 words. So if you can put your logo next to your brand name, the association and recall from a consumer is that much stronger in regards to who you are and what your relationship with them is from the point of view of being a retailer or a brand that they engage with frequently.
Well said. That's exactly how marketers think, I think. Yeah, that's what I've heard from several of the clients we work with for sure.
Great. Well, Alex, thanks very much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed the first in our series of BIMI educational videos and sort of different pieces of how we're going to help educate people around BIMI. We're going to have some more technical conversations coming up on future episodes, but we wanted to sort of really start with why do you want to be involved and how to get yourself started with BIMI. So for any additional information on BIMI, things that you're interested in learning about, if you have questions, all of that information should be available on the bimigroup.org website. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here.
Thanks, Alex.